Welcome back to another live and amplified Indie Fusion podcast. I'm your host, Tom Quiet, and today we have a very special guest coming from my neck of the woods, up in the northern Midwest there. We have Alyssia Dominquez. How's it going today?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Doing really well, doing really well. It's not every day that I get somebody from Wisconsin on the podcast, but for
Yeah.
whatever reason, over like the last 6 months, I've had a lot of people from Wisconsin, and it's
Oh
like
my gosh.
I wish I knew this many people in Wisconsin when I actually lived in Chicago. I was always looking for a reason to go, just go visit up north, you know?
Yeah, that's so funny. Yeah, there's a lot of musicians up here.
Yeah, nice. And so, glad to have you on. Glad to finally get the chance to sit down and chat. Excited to talk about your new single. I was telling you before we jumped on here that, I kind of got introduced to you through some mutual friends on Instagram and, mutual connections and whatnot. And as I started listening to your music, it instantly made me happier.
Oh my
Like,
gosh, that makes me happy to hear. Thank you.
yeah, it was like, not that I was in a bad mood or anything, but it was just
Yeah.
kind of like, oh, hey, this is kind of like if I'm ever in a bad mood, this is what I need to be listening to. So,
I love that. Thank you so much.
yeah, absolutely. So you were born in Wisconsin in Waukesha, um,
Yep.
which I don't know why I was so worried about mispronouncing that.
You said
I,
it perfect.
I know. But what was it like growing up in Waukesha?
Yeah, I was I still am very close with my family. So I loved growing up in Waukesha and I had lots of cousins and aunts and uncles and we'd always have get-togethers at my mom's house and we'd have menudo and just listen to Mexican music and it was always fun. It was every Sunday. And then like around fifth grade for me, we moved out to a town called Dousman, and it's super small out in the country. So um, that's where I mostly grew up after then. So I fell in love with country music out there. And yeah, I don't know. I loved my childhood and um, I have a really amazing family, so that helps a lot.
Nice. I've honestly, it's quite interesting because it took me to move to New Mexico and then here to Texas to really start to understand and I guess respect is the best way to kind of word it, the connection between like the Hispanic culture and country music.
Oh,
And,
sure.
and so like it's such a huge thing down here. It's really cool to kind of see. And it's now whenever I go back up to Chicago, I start to see these things that I missed, and it's like,
Yeah.
huh, I really missed a lot when I was up here.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, it's pretty crazy when I started learning guitar from my grandmother because she used to play. So she did all the Tejano music
Hmm.
and she just taught me a few chords and how to play one of the songs and after learning that I realized I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is so similar to the old school country like Johnny Cash and Waylon Jennings and it's just cool to see the connection."
Nice. When your grandma was, so you said she played Tejano music. So is
Hmm.
that kind of what you grew up listening to was Tejano, or was
For
it kind of
sure.
like a mix of Tejano and country, or?
Yeah, it was kind of a mix. So, like I said, with my grandmother, she sang that type of music, and
Mhm.
um, my family was always just a fan of dancing, and it's just um, the type of music that's ingrained in our family. But then we also grew up in um, an area where there was a lot of people who spoke English, so we got, I always say I got the best of both worlds when it came to listening to music in English and Spanish.
Fair, fair, fair. Is there a big Hispanic culture in Wisconsin or like a Hispanic community? Not necessarily culture, but
Sure. I would say like Waukesha and Milwaukee area has a pretty good um amount, but you know, where I grew up, it was really interesting because I grew up in a rural town, so there wasn't too many Hispanics
hmm.
in the area, and so that was different for me as well.
Gotcha, gotcha. But like you said, you kind of got best of both worlds because you kind of you had a predominantly speaking Spanish household, but then you got to kind of learn English, and so you were it like you'd mentioned, it's kind of an interesting mix to come in and out of the house and all that. So,
Yeah, definitely. And it's so interesting because my grandmother, she spoke fluent Spanish and my dad did as well.
mhm,
But then where we grew up, there just wasn't, like I said, there wasn't much of a Hispanic community. So my parents ended up speaking English to us.
mm,
And I didn't learn Spanish fluently. So I've had to pick it up on my own and
fair.
figure it out just because, it's my heritage and I wanted
Yeah.
to connect with it and um yeah.
Awesome, awesome. And so, at what or when did you kind of start exploring, like writing your own music? Was that a little bit later on? Was that from the help of your grandmother? Where does that kind of come into play?
Yeah, so when I was 15 is when my grandmother was showing me how to play some chords and singing a little bit. And then around that time Taylor Swift was coming out with Our Song.
Mm,
And I was like, oh my God, she's speaking all the words I want to say to all the boys I have crushes on in school. So I fell in love with songwriting from her. And then I would write a little bit. And it was never something like I would just do it for fun. And I never really thought too much of it. And then it was a little bit later in my music journey, probably around 21 is when I
mm.
really started to write and really get into the songwriting craft.
Gotcha. And when you started like writing, did you always know it was gonna be country, or were you exploring doing more of a pop sound or something a little bit more Tejano? Or
Well, so I started writing with a writer up here. He actually passed now, but I had learned a lot from him. And I don't know, I just wrote whatever came to my head. I didn't really like go for country or go for, a certain genre. It
mm,
just kind of came out and then I feel like it's still morphing. I think it started out maybe a little more
mm,
pop-ish and then eventually grew to be more country, but it's still a mix. Like my song that I just put out last year in La
mm,
Calle, it's definitely more of like a pop feel to it. But some of the stuff that I'm coming out with soon is definitely more country. So it's like all over the place.
fair enough. But you know what? And as you kind of say that, that makes a lot of sense because that's kind of in tune with what a lot of younger musicians are doing now, as like the younger millennials, or I guess they're probably like the younger millennials or the older what is it, Gen Z or whatever it is. Um, they're kind of grew up in a household where they were, or not necessarily grew up in a household, but they were in a situation where they were influenced by so much music and different
Mm,
types of music, where it was like, mom listened to this, dad listened to this. They had an older brother that listened to and so they just kind of had influences from all over the place, and trying to fit themselves into a mold doesn't really play anymore. Although the industry wants you to think like, hey, no, you still got to be one of the five main genres,
right.
which you don't. And I think you're kind of stumbling upon that. Like, yeah, you may have strong influences to country or Tejano or pop or, like whatever it is.
Mhm.
But at the end of the day, you're being authentic to who you are.
Right.
And that's the key right there.
For sure. And I think it's cool to kind of lean towards different genres and do your own thing. And I don't know. Like I said, I appreciate the music that I was exposed to as a young
Mhm.
kid because I don't know, it just feels like you have more of an open mind when it comes to music.
Fair, 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 fair. So when you started writing and like really exploring your own creative process, had you gone to Nashville yet at that point, or when did you kind of start going to Nashville?
Yeah. So I remember I took my first visit with my parents at
Mm,
16 years old. I wanted to see the Bluebird so bad because Taylor Swift had played there. And I've always been in love with Nashville, so I would go back a lot or I would say every once in a while. And then my family, so it would be my second cousin and his
Mhm.
wife moved there. And I think that was, oh gosh, I'm so bad with timelines. Maybe like 6 years ago,
Okay.
7 years ago. And, they were so generous and they're like, just come whenever you feel like it. And of course, I like started coming all the time. And now, um, I split my time. So I have my own room there and they're just very, very supportive. So shout out to Bonnie and Frank because they're cool, for supporting my dream. And yeah, they've just been amazing.
Nice. That's really cool. It saves you money not having to rent an Airbnb or a hotel every time you go to
Oh,
Nashville.
sure, definitely. I'm very lucky to have family down there.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, for sure. It's I'm already dreading the bill that I'm gonna have to pay because I'm going to Nashville in a couple of weeks for
Okay.
CRS, and I'm already dreading that hotel bill that I'm going to
Oh boy. I
yeah.
feel for you.
It's
It's
just like
quite expensive down there.
yeah, it's like uh I'll go stay in Kentucky if I have to. I'll drive an hour in. I don't mind. Like if it's gonna save me that much money. So
Right?
but
Exactly.
then again, if I could, I'd if it was time possible, I'd drive all the way back here to Texas and go back to Nashville just to save $10. So
How long
yeah.
is that?
I think it's about 11 hours.
Oh,
So
yeah, that's long.
it's a bit of a drive, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
You got to
um,
get like a cool camper van or something
yeah,
to make that
that's
work.
really so this past or last year, there was the job that I have, there were doing like layoffs and stuff. And I told everybody, I was like, if I'm one of the people that gets laid off, y'all ain't never gonna see me again because I'm gonna sell everything I own except for the laptop and like my live and amplified stuff,
Yeah.
jump in the car, and I'm gonna live out of the car for 6 months and just see what happens.
That would be, I mean, I hope that doesn't happen, but it does sound fun.
It
Um,
minimize my expenses. That'd be the nice
right?
thing, right? So,
Right. I know
um,
my dad is like, I always say my dad in my family is the dreamer, and
mhm.
he has always wanted like a van, or he always said if I ever had a tour bus, he would drive the tour bus and just travel everywhere.
Nice. That's
Yeah.
cool. That's the father you want.
Right.
Like somebody to drive the tour bus, go for it. I'm all for that one. So,
Exactly.
um, but so let's just go ahead and jump into the new single that's dropping next, is it next Thursday or next Friday? I'm so bad with dates anymore.
Next Friday.
Next Friday. There you go. I had to
Mhm.
pull up the calendar. I was like, ah.
I know that's what I did too. I was like, wait, what's today?
Um, what's the story behind this song? What can you tell us about it?
Yeah, so this song is called Adios Cowboy, and I wrote it with my friend Cameron Clark, and she's an awesome songwriter. And we um had a lot of fun writing it, and it was inspired by my mother, because I always share this when I sing it live, but it's the story that's behind the song. And um my mom is a very independent, feisty Latina woman, and pretty much all of the women in my family are. And my mom doesn't put up with anything from anybody, so especially when it comes to, a man doing you wrong, she always says, if a man ever does you wrong, you pack up your things, you tell him adios, cowboy. And that's how this song came to be. And I'm very excited for y'all to hear it. It's one of my favorites off of the project, and yeah, I can't wait.
Nice. So, is this the first song to come off this project, or where's it kind of at in the lineage of things?
Yep, it's the first single, and I haven't even really announced yet that it's going to be off of an EP, but once it comes out, I'll make a full-blown announcement. So y'all are hearing it first. got his
Sweet.
EP coming out.
No, it's nice, nice. So with Adios Cowboy, why'd you just decide to release this song now as the first representation of this up and coming? We'll call it a rumored project just to save the announcement for later.
Right. Um, yeah, I just felt like it really introduced the vibe of the EP. I got to work with an amazing producer, Brad Hill, and he just really made these songs come to life and it feels like me.
Mhm,
I think for a long time I have music out that I'm proud of, but I think it's taken a while for me to find my voice and
mhm,
what I really want to say and how I want to represent my style and my brand. And I think these four songs off of the EP really embody what I'm trying to say. And um, I love the idea of being a woman who can kind of go against the grain and be independent and um so that's why I'm very proud to release this one as the first single.
awesome, awesome. So is this kind of you said this is or this is a more accurate representation of the type of musician you want to be.
For sure.
Uh, it does that. So did you? What were you, when you were kind of going through the process of like writing, recording, and just kind of figuring out what this was going to be? Who
Mhm.
were you listening to? Was there like some musical influences that you were listening to be like, oh, I kind of like this or kind of like that?
For this EP, you mean?
Yeah, for the entire project. Yeah.
Honestly, there really hasn't been anything. I mean, I listen to all kinds of music and but I don't know if any certain artist inspired the sound or
Mhm,
the style. Probably just the combination of everything I've listened to.
mhm,
But I like to listen to other artists, even like, more like the smaller artists that aren't on the big mainstream radio or
mhm,
anything. Um, and kind of get inspiration from them as just learning from them. That's my favorite thing to do is to go to rounds and just listen to the talent. Like
mhm,
I just want to be a great songwriter. So when you hear people just come up with these amazing lines, it's like, oh, I gotta go home and I gotta practice. And I would love to write songs as good as those one day. But yeah, I don't know. It's just kind of stuff that just kind of came out of nowhere, really. Just I've been lucky to find some really great songwriters that I'm actually um that feel like we work really well together and we get each other. So I think maybe that helped with
mhm.
these songs.
Nice. You
Yeah.
touched on something interesting there, and I'm gonna ask this question. So you'd mentioned that you like to listen to a lot of independent artists, and you like
Hmm.
listening to songwriters and stuff like that. And you com how do you kind of walk that line of trying to improve yourself as a musician, making yourself the best version of yourself
Hmm.
without comparing yourself to other musicians and wishing you were writing stuff like they were writing?
Oh, sure. Yeah, that's really hard to do sometimes. I mean, even now I still do it, if whatever song I'll write, I'll love it. And then yeah, you hear other artists and you're like, "Oh crap." They're so good. But I think just trying to remember that everyone has their own version of what they're trying to say and what they're going through and no one's gonna say it like you can. And I think that's just the thing to remember, even though it is tough. But I try to look at the what people are writing as inspiration more than comparison, if that makes sense.
Fair enough. It's always very tricky just as a creative in general because
Hmm.
you kind of get used to your own style. Like you as a musician, myself as a video editor, that's what I do. That's my creative outlet and what I do for a day job and
Yeah.
whatnot. I've definitely been in that sphere where it's like I put out a video everybody tells me it's amazing, but then I see somebody else's video and it's like, no, that video is amazing. Like, I wish I could edit like that. I wish I could do graphics like that, just stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then I realized I'm comparing myself to somebody else's style, not necessarily skill set, because it's all about different styles. And with music, it's very
Right.
similar, where it's like, are you comparing yourself to somebody's skill to say words and put them together to make it an interesting thought? Or are you
Mm-hmm.
comparing yourself to somebody's style because you think they have a cool style?
Right.
So,
Yeah. And it's so hard because social media, you
mhm.
see everybody's all of their creations and it can be a lot. But, I think it's just having, yeah, that little reminder every once in a while. Because don't get me wrong, I get into that too.
Yeah.
Even like just in general in life, you're like, oh my God, this person's doing amazing things. And then, which is great, and you should totally feel happy for these people. But sometimes you get in that trap where you're like, well, why am I not there yet? Or, just stuff like that. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's tough in the social media world. But
Yeah. It's you just got to remember. This is what I tell a lot of people that um come to me and say, "Oh, you get to do all these cool things." And I was like, "You're talking about this photo. That was
right.
1 second of a moment that I experienced surrounded by hours of chaos."
So true. That is
And
so true.
it's like, yeah, we got that photo and it was a cool photo because we took 4 minutes to enjoy the sunrise in South Florida because we didn't know if we'd ever be back there again.
Yep.
But that 4 minutes we had worked 7 hours before, we worked 7 hours after, and it was literally my buddy was like, yo, I gotta take a smoke break. And we walked to the pier, took a photo, and that's what it was.
Right? I
So
know. It's so funny. I had a few girls reach out to me on Instagram that are younger and they were like, "Oh, I love what you're doing with your music. I would love to just chat with you
mhm,
and pick your brain." And I'm always down to help anybody if I can, just because I
mhm,
remember what it was like being young and not knowing much. But it's just funny because I think they think I have things figured out just because, like you said, you put up your little highlights or your moments that you get opportunities. And, you know, I always feel bad. I'm like, I hope I'm not letting you down, but I'm gonna be honest, I have no idea what I'm doing. Like,
fair.
and I feel like no one ever does really, but it's just interesting how it appears like you do know what you're doing.
Yeah. And you know what? That's the like you'd mentioned, that's the world of social media.
Hmm.
But the fact that you know enough to A, capture those moments, because when you're caught up in the emotion of the day-to-day grind, and you have a tendency to forget to, hey, that 4 minutes, enjoy that, because you may not get it again, like
Right.
whatever it is. But the fact that you're kind of in present enough mind to kind of capture it and recognize it for what it is, and the fact
Mhm.
that, hey, I'm just kind of guessing at this point, and it's like
Right.
I think we're all guessing, to be fair. Like
For sure.
nobody knows what's going to be the next Charlie bit my finger. Wow, I just dated myself with that one. But nobody really knows like what the next viral thing's going to be.
Right.
So yeah,
Yeah, for sure.
but
It's
good. Sorry.
I was just gonna say, yeah, it's interesting, the whole thing.
Yeah. Oh, so as you kind of approach the release of Adios Cowboy, what's kind of running through your mind as you've kind of got a little bit over a week left of promoting and all that fun stuff? What's kind of running through your mind right now?
Yeah, honestly, I'm a very type A person, so I have a running list of all the things I need to get done, especially with more singles and then the full project coming out. So honestly, I've just been like in overtime with all everything. So like after we're done talking, I'll probably be doing emails for a while and making more lists and all that. So it's just kind of 24/7 right now, but I love that when it's busy and just constant sometimes. I mean it can be a lot, but I like just going and going. So,
Nice. Now, do you are you the type of person where you'll set down a list of things that you want to get accomplished for that day, just so you
Hmm.
can feel like you can go to bed and actually sleep that night?
Right? Yeah. But it's so funny because I'll have a list and then it just grows. I'm like, it never ends.
The never-ending list. Oh yeah,
Right.
that's it's like the punch. It's like a living punch list that just like, oh, I'm almost done. Oh, nope, nope. I just added 30 more things. Great,
Yep.
cool.
Yep. Or
I
you're like in the middle of something. Um, like I had this yesterday. I was trying to upload um more songs for distribution.
Mhm.
And then you run into these little things like, oh, this isn't working. Oh, great. Now I have to, adjust this or do that. And it's just, yeah. But it makes the whole process interesting.
Right, right, right. And are you playing shows right now, or how often are you playing shows?
Yep. I do music full time, so I'm
Mhm.
always trying to play whenever shows pop up. So usually it's been every weekend. Obviously it's slow right now during
Winter,
the
yeah.
season. But I'm planning for my EP release, which is going to be really cool. And yeah, I've got a lot of things in the works and just excited.
Awesome, awesome. How often are you going down to Nashville at this point? Is it like a monthly trip or not quite that often?
Yeah, so I'm there, I would say like 50-50 during the months.
Nice.
And when I'm there, I'm like trying to play rounds too and just writing with people and yeah.
Cool, cool, cool. So, speaking of Nashville, what's your favorite non-traditional place to go to? Like not on Broadway and all that stuff.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. Okay, I have a bunch actually, but the ones that stick out in my mind are the Five Spot.
okay.
I love the Five Spot. Have you been there?
Nope. I
Okay, look,
literally
add
I
it to
went
your list.
I've been to Nashville a couple of times, and
Okay.
both times I didn't get a chance to go out because I was working straight through the clock.
Oh,
Yeah,
sure, sure.
yeah.
So it would be the Five Spot is really cool. That's in East. The Bowery Vault is also one of my
Mhm,
favorites. And this is in Madison, which is not too far, but
mhm.
Dee's Cocktail Country
Okay.
Lounge
Yeah,
or Country Cocktail Lounge, however you say it.
yeah.
I love that place too, but I love the Five Spot because they have different genres all the time, it feels like. It's not, just country.
Nice, nice, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, the one place that when I go to Nashville here in a couple of weeks, I've already subsided to the fact that I need to go to Santa's Pub,
Oh, yeah, I've never been there actually.
and I don't know why my computer is trolling me right now.
I forgot it does that. I was in the middle of a write a couple weeks ago on Zoom and
Yeah,
I did that and like the thing popped up. I think, will it do it for me now? No.
I don't
I must have
know.
turned it off.
Yeah. I need to go in and figure out how to turn it off because like there's what I mentioned I did a podcast on Saturday and I said something and I did like a weird hand gesture and it gave me a thumbs down and I'm like, "Oh, great. Cool. Thanks, computer."
That's
But
hilarious.
so yeah, no, th Santa's Pub is one of the places and then oh, what is it? The exit or
Mm. The exit in?
yeah, the exit in. That's what it's called. That
Yeah.
that's one place I really want to check out just because I like a little when I go to shows, I like to hurt the next day. So yeah, that would be like
Nice.
maybe the last show or something. I don't know, but we'll see.
Yeah. I once saw a show there. And it was really cool. I forgot who it was now. But yeah,
Yeah.
those are good
Nice,
places to check out.
nice, nice. And so then outside of music, when you need time to decompress or take a step away, what are some of your hobbies? What do you do outside of music?
Oh, yeah. It's funny when I get that question because I'm like, so I've been married since 2020
Hmm.
and my husband is very into like fitness and the outdoors and I've always I don't know, like I've always just been like a little obsessive. Like I just kind of do music and like that was my life. That's just all
Yeah.
I did. And then living with him, he was kind of like, you should probably try to step away and just like do something a little
Mm.
different. So I mean, it's not much, but we'll go for walks. I've been getting into, but this is still like music related, but I've been getting into doing YouTube videos and kind of the
Okay.
video editing,
Yeah.
um, and that kind of a thing. But honestly, I probably do need to pick up more hobbies
Fair.
because
Fair.
I don't
You
have too
know,
many.
when it comes to, let's talk a little YouTube then. What kind
Yeah.
of videos are you making? What's your channel looking like right now?
Yeah. Well, lately I've been getting into vlogs. So I
Okay.
did that a lot more, I believe, last year. And I'm just getting back into it now. I ended up getting a really cool camera and it like before I was just filming with my phone
Hmm.
and that never worked because I would always run out of storage and battery. And yeah, so then I was like, I just got this camera maybe 2 weeks ago, a week
Hmm.
ago. And so I have one video that I'll be posting probably this week.
Nice.
And it'll be the first in a while. So I'm just getting back into it.
Nice, nice. I tried vlogging for a while and it just was like I don't like the concept of holding a camera and speaking into it. To
Oh,
me,
sure.
that's just a little awkward,
It
but
is awkward.
it's one of those things where I think if I get to a point where I could just be like, hey, camera guy, and just pay somebody to be a camera guy, I wouldn't have a problem being a vlogger, like doing the vlog style
Oh,
stuff,
sure.
just
Yeah,
because then it's not dependent on me.
I know. It is a lot
Like,
of work.
yeah. But
Um,
go ahead. Sorry.
no, no, you go ahead.
All right. But I've been really into doing like React videos lately, like just
Oh,
finding music themed stuff and just kind of, doing that. So, that's been kind of interesting. So,
yeah, that's fun. I've seen some of those.
yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Except the
Um,
only downside is when the videos get taken down because, or not taken down, but restricted because, oh, you're using copyrighted footage. Great.
oh
So,
yeah, I know. That's
yeah.
always a pain in the butt.
Yeah. But no, that's cool that you're exploring other avenues of creativity. Was that something, was like video production and editing, was that something that always kind of interested you, or was that just something you just kind of stumbled upon?
Yeah, no, it never it never really interested me, but I like to watch YouTube. Like we don't watch TV.
Hmm.
It's just YouTube videos. But I think after I realized how much social media is involved with your music career, I was like, you know what? Let's pick up the camera and just film what I do, you know, in a week, or like I'll
Nice.
take people for shows or show them what it's like getting ready for a show and all that.
Nice.
And it's definitely easier to do in Nashville just because everyone is doing that, so you don't feel so weird whipping out a
Yeah.
camera. I was at a coffee shop the other day and I was filming myself and I felt a little weird. I don't know, because just sometimes you feel self-conscious. You're like,
Yeah.
okay, I'm the only one filming myself. And then a guy sat right next to me and he like whipped out his camera and was like editing stuff um on his laptop. And I was like, oh, okay, I fit in.
Nice. And that's always kind of the weird thing to get over because you never know, like if you go into a business with a camera, you never know how the like business owner or the workers or the employees are going to react because sometimes they're all
Oh
about it.
yeah.
Sometimes they're like, no, 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 no.
I know. I'm waiting for that day. I'm like, and I hate confrontation. So I'm like,
Right,
please don't yell at me.
right. It's not fun, but it's just one of those things where it's like, at the end of the day, just I'm not hurting anybody. Just let me do my
Right.
thing. Yeah. So
Yeah. For
that's kind of
sure.
where it's at. No, that's cool. So I'm glad that you're exploring that avenue. I Do you do a lot of stuff on TikTok as well, or is it mainly just more like for as far as like the vlogging and stuff? Is it more just basically YouTube?
Yeah, I'll do like mini vlogs
Hmm.
on TikTok and Instagram and then like try to do full videos on YouTube.
Nice.
It's definitely easier to do the TikTok,
Yeah.
Instagram thing just because it's so short.
Right. And plus, you could the TikTok stuff you could pretty much do on your phone, and it's not that big of a
Yep,
big of a
for sure.
concern because it's just like,
Mhm.
whatever it
Yep.
is. So
Yep.
cool, cool, cool. So then kind of moving forward into the summer, what's your plans? Just playing shows constantly and working on the album or working on releasing the EP? My bad. I'm
No,
just
it's
going
all
to
good.
full, yeah. Is that kind of the plan or?
Yep. So the EP should be coming out sometime in May.
Mm,
And then I'll just have a usual full schedule. Usually my summers get crazy. So um I'm trying to be a little bit, not I don't want to burn out
mhm.
because I've done that a few times. And so I'm trying to pay more attention to my schedule, like max, maybe like 5 shows a week
Nice.
as a max.
Hmm.
So like last or was it last year or the year before? Because when you get used to saying yes to things, you're just like, oh, put it in the schedule, put it in the schedule. And I remember I had 9 shows in a row,
Hmm.
and I was like, what? I don't even know how this happened. And I was like, why did I do this to myself? Because it's not like if I could probably do it if it was, like a cool show where you're only doing an hour or 2 hours, like the bigger
Hmm.
musicians, but it's like the 3 hours by
Yeah.
yourself, and it's rough.
It's that Nashville grind where it's like if you're down in Nashville and you got to do like a 3, 4 hour gig, and it's like at some point you're gonna run out of originals and be like, all right, let me pull out the pocket of covers or
Right.
something. But yeah, no,
Right.
I totally understand that. So
But it's
um
fun, so.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Do you play a lot of festivals or have you not explored that too much yet?
I'll play some festivals that Wisconsin has. They have
Mm,
a lot during the summer, but um I'm just slowly like starting to get into different areas too. Like, I played my first show in Georgia last year. It
oh well,
wasn't a festival, but it was like an outdoor event
mm,
that they had. And then this year I'm going to make my way to Arkansas, I
nice.
believe. Um, but I would love to get into more, festivals in different states too. But I think I mean, right now I just perform solo. So if I had
Mm.
a band, I feel like that would be easier. But
I
easier?
mean,
I don't know if that's the right
no,
word.
it would be it's a mixed blessing and it's a mixed bag to be honest with you because it's like with having a full band, you've got to worry about organizing the schedule of multiple people
Yeah.
and getting around and all that stuff. And at least by yourself, it's like all you have to worry about is yourself and I don't know. I'm assuming your husband does or would or wouldn't go out on like a little run with you, like as far
Yeah,
as touring. So
I think so if it worked out with his schedule.
I gotcha.
He's very supportive too, so but yeah, I used to be in a couple cover bands, and I remember the issue with schedules, and
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's a lot. That's why I do perform a lot on my own.
Mm-hmm.
On occasion, I'll have shows with a band if it's like a really cool event or um, something that needs it. I have some guys that I like to go to for
Nice.
band shows.
That's cool. Yeah, I'd love to see you get out and find some more outside of like Nashville and Wisconsin. The hard part about Wisconsin is you're kind of, especially being in like Milwaukee, you kind of got to drive a little bit to get outside of Wisconsin. But if you're down in Nashville, what is it, like 4 hours in any direction, and you're pretty much in a brand new state that you never. So
Right, that's true.
'cause- so then I think that willingness to travel and get out in front of new crowds, especially with releasing an EP,
Hmm.
that's the move right there because um I I know in Nashville it's probably not as common of a problem, but I'm sure like up in Milwaukee you don't want to play too much just in Milwaukee because you'll kind of
Mm,
burn out your audience or
right,
it's like, oh, I'm playing in Milwaukee tonight. Oh, but I'll see you tomorrow in right down the street or what like whatever it is. So
right. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, it would be cool. That's a goal of mine to eventually go on some sort of tour or I just saw Haley Witters. Do you know who that
mm,
is?
yep.
I what was that?
I was gonna say I follow her on Instagram. So
Yeah, I love her stuff. And I just saw her post her touring schedule, which is insane. She has so many dates and
yep.
it's awesome. And I'm like, one day I'm like, I would love to do something like that, just different states everywhere.
What do you think's holding you back from doing something like that?
I think it's just the connections.
Hmm.
So finding, finding a a booking agent or whatever it would be to get into those venues or
Mm,
I just haven't tapped into that yet, how to connect and make it make sense because on my own, um it's just difficult to I don't have the knowledge of,
hmm.
traveling to different states and how it would work budget wise and all that stuff.
Yeah,
So eventually if I could get with an agency, that would be
yeah,
amazing.
yeah. And it's one of those things that I tell like young musicians that are like 17, 18 years old. It's like, honestly, you've got age on your side right now where you're 17, 18 years old. You don't have a whole lot of responsibilities. So, especially
Yeah,
like right now with it being February and when does school get out anymore? June 1st, something like that. You know,
probably around that time.
you got like 4 or 5 months to go do your school thing, go work, save up all the money you can, and then once that school bell rings for the year, hit the road, start playing. Like just
Yeah,
go do it, figure it out. Like
for
you want
sure.
you want to be a musician, just spend your summer doing that. Don't worry about the party. Like that's going to be there. If
Right.
when you're 18, 19, whatever, that party's going to be there.
Right,
This
exactly.
opportunity ain't always going to be there. So,
Mm-hmm. Yep,
but
so true.
it's just one of those things when you're young and I don't want to say don't have responsibilities, but you have your limited responsibilities. It's like
Right.
you don't even think about that because it's like, "Oh, I just want to go hang out with my friends.
Yep. Yep, exactly.
So, but I've absolutely enjoyed this conversation. Really appreciate you taking the time to sit down and chat with us. Before we wrap this up though,
Yeah.
um, what is one piece of advice you would like to pass on to the young musicians out there?
Yeah. I always tell other artists that I talk with, I think it's really important to be yourself. And I know that probably sounds so cliche, but I think just like we touched on earlier as an artist, we all have something different to say. And if you have something a little bit different, just like share that with the world and just own it. I think that's one thing that's been helping me lately is just, some people kind of go, "Oh, you're Hispanic, but you do country music." And they're like, "Wait, what?" And I'm like, "Yeah, it's just who I am. It's what I do." And I think if you could just own what you do and just be proud of who you are and where you come from, I think that will help you a long way.
Nice, nice. That's 100. It's one of those things where you're basically talking about authenticity, which is what I preach every day. Like
Yeah,
that's
that's amazing.
just be who you are.
For
Um,
sure.
but really appreciate you. If anybody wants to check out the new single, the upcoming EP, or catch a live show, or just interact with you on social, where's the best place to find you on the interwebs?
For sure. My website is alyssiamusic.com, Alyssia. So I have all of my information on there, and then you can follow me on social media, Alyssia Dominquez, um, on pretty much everything.
Awesome, awesome. Well, once again, thank you so much for hanging out with us. And for anybody that's listening to the recorded episode on Spotify, I have Alicia's Spotify link and Instagram in the description below. So if you want easy way to kind of find her and connect and all that fun stuff and support her, those are the two places, the two initial jumping off points. But really appreciate you. Thank you for hanging out with us, and we will catch you all later.
Thank you.